Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. I'm your host, Justin Phillips, and with me is the best cost performance podcaster in the game, Shadow Governor Boss.
Robin Boss's strongest soldier.
And tonight we're covering the latest from the Dem-Gov candidates this week as the primary starts to get a little less sleepy. Plus, we talk about the Assembly and Senate GOP doing what they're doing to hold their majorities. But first, Shadow Gov, I don't know if you noticed the World Cup. If you're a World Cup guy, if you're a big soccer guy, but I'm not. I think the first World Cup I really paid attention to was 2010. But the thing I love is my Twitter algorithm is all about these Euros that are coming to America, becoming America-pilled over this amazing country by learning about Buc-ee's and brisket and Waffle House and chicken fried steak for the first time. And it's amazing.
Well, I'm all for, I'm not necessarily a huge World Cup guy. I mean, but any time the Stars and Stripes are being represented,
sure,
America 100%.
Yeah,
and this soccer is one of those like we don't have like a national football team. There's not like an NFL, a U.S. Football team because the United States is really the only one. So this is kind of like a unique opportunity for like the United States, the collective patriotism to kind of be on display, and obviously. Sports has a way of kind of melding different people together for a common purpose. And so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't quite been following it as well as I should have. I've been busy with other things and I haven't been able to keep up with it. However, I don't know who we're playing, but I hope we beat everybody.
Well, I think as of this recording, the United States is closing in on their victory over Paraguay.
Very nice.
Which you would not, in any other circumstance, you would think is
I'll take any win.
Exactly. But in this case, the United States has never been the soccer powerhouse that
we need to be, though.
Yeah.
We need to conquer everything.
Yes.
Colonize every sport.
Yes. We need to ruin the World Cup by winning it every year because we're just such a dominant country.
Well, next up is cricket. We're taking over cricket. Okay.
I don't even know the rules of that.
I don't know the rules, but I just know India's really good at it, and we need to take that over.
I've watched the episode of Bluey about cricket, and that's about my far knowledge there. But no, I am loving, and I hope to continue to see all of these. The German fella who's touring the United States. There's a woman from, I think it's Sweden. One of those Nordic countries is talking about her experience. There's the Japanese fella who's, again, called the Texas Roadhouse the best cost performance steak in the world or something. Like he just fawned over Texas Roadhouse. It's like the way he described it is so perfect and the best marketing that it could ever do. So I hope to see a lot more of those people, and I know they're going to have a good time. And again, if the U.S. can get out of the group stage and get into those elimination rounds,
it would be nice.
But speaking of eliminations, beautiful segue.
Wow.
Ballot access window is over, and one person who's been dominating the conversation this week is, of course, our favorite progressive provocateur and alleged brewer, Kirk Bangstad. And first thing we got to talk about is the fact that the Wisconsin Election Commission voted unanimously to kick him or keep Kirk Bangstad, depends how you want to phrase it, but he is not on the ballot for governor, even though he had circulated 2,000 signatures. Only 1,504 were valid. Therefore, he did not qualify. And part of me is grateful. Part of me is disappointed. Shadow Gov, give us your thoughts.
Well, the Democrat establishment has struck once again. They have struck one of their own down in cold blood. He didn't deserve this at all. No, Kirk Bangstad. Also, can we get an official ruling? Bangstad. I don't know why I say Banks. Or,
you know what? I don't respect him enough to correct you about his last name. Call him whatever you want.
I don't know. I say Bagston. I don't know.
That's fine.
Bangstad, whatever. The point being, Kirk, we saw this coming a mile away. And let it be known that the Wisconsin Elections Commission they don't kick people off. They are not in the business of kicking people off.
They err on the side of giving people access. Yeah.
Allowing people to vote for wherever they want to. So you really have to screw it up. And in Kirk's case, he did screw it up pretty well. And that's kind of on him. I know he's like, oh, we don't have a bunch of Dem consultants helping us out. But it's like, there's like some basic things that you could have done to avoid this.
Yes. And we talked about them. We talked about it on this pod. We talked about them on the Heartland Post several times.
He didn't listen.
No.
We're just that, crazy right-wing media that apparently, can't be bothered to listen to our humble opinion. But so, yeah, he's off the ballot. He's going to use this probably to fundraise. I mean, not that he has. And he was already doing that. So not really going to change a whole lot for him.
Yeah. So his thing was he went under this screed that, of course, and we'll talk about this in the next article as well, but Kirk will blame anyone but himself for
perpetual victimhood.
Yeah. And so he claimed that 3 of the 6 commission members should have recused themselves, including Ann Jacobs and Mark Thompson, were accused of bias for publicly labeling him an anti-Semite after he criticized Judge Lynn Edelman, and because Thompson admitted he's supporting David Crowley. He also said that the conservative lion of the Wisconsin Election Commission, Bob Spindell, should have recused himself because he was a fake elector for Trump in 2020. And we've never really discussed that, but I think that's the most BS thing, is calling someone a fake elector. And that's beside the point. I think you would kind of agree with that. But again, he said, well, they should be recusing themselves. It's not that I got, less than 2,000 valid signatures. It's someone else's problem.
So again, this tracks for Kirk is, there's always someone to blame for my own actions. But the longer this facade, this act goes on, the more I think it is truly an act. Like,
okay,
I think he is as crazy as they come, but surely there's got to be someone that could help him out and give him, like, honestly, he probably benefits from not being on the ballot, not gaining more scrutiny to his campaign finance reports, and he can continue to fundraise. He can continue to use this as a way to boost himself on social media to eventually buy or sell more beer. And he mentioned in one of his videos or social media posts, he's like, you guys really went gangbusters. Like, some random person across the country in California is seeing Kirk Bangstad for the first time and being like, oh, it has a Biden pale ale. Oh, I'm going to buy that or whatever. And he's probably making a decent living right now to pay off all of his other. I mean, the man's probably got he's got his hands in the cookie jar in more than one way, probably. And this is a way to pay off some of that defamation money to the Lakeland Times as well. So I think this is probably more of a grift than it was a legitimate.
So I think he legitimately wanted to be on the ballot. I do.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm in a minority there that thought he was actually intending to run a serious, quote unquote, serious campaign. And he did hint that he might pursue other legal avenues. And again, you have a situation now where will a progressive judge hear that argument, or are they establishment enough to recognize that having Kirk on the ballot is worse for the Democrats running for governor than it is to have him off? Like, it's because he will, like, suck up a lot of oxygen. He will elbow his way through the progressive lane. He will, he's the true believer that, he can label Francesca Hong as a phony. And
Mandela is a corporate Democrat.
Right, corporate Democrat, and everyone else is an establishment, whatever, Dino Democrat in name only, or like part of the uniparty, as so many folks like to say. So I don't know if he's totally done. I would say there's a 90% certainty, 95% certainty that he's not going to make the ballot. But I think there's still that, like, little slim flicker of hope that he could shop this to the right judge and be that's a hyper progressive and say, yes, we need, for the sake of democracy, we need him on the ballot.
Well, I'm going to say with 99.8% certainty that he will not be on the ballot because, I mean, think about it. August 11th is the primary, I think. Go back 2 weeks, we're into July. They got to print the ballots. There's a lot of ballots. It takes time. I mean, he's got to find a court that's willing to hear his case.
Yeah.
He's got to be moving like yesterday. But that's why I don't think it's 100% genuine. And the Democrat establishment has struck again. They get one win And I guess if kicking off an imbecile like Kirk Bangstad is any consolation, like I suppose. So they got more problems than Kirk.
They do. But
and Kirk
has more problems. Yeah. That's a beautiful transition because as folks may have found out late, what was that, Thursday?
Yeah.
The Department of Revenue seized $25,000 worth of Bangstad's beer as an investigation widened over his Illinois production and unpaid taxes. So Kirk Bangstad is not just a provocateur, not just a failed gubernatorial candidate, but now essentially a bootlegger.
Yeah.
So he is alleging, of course, because he is the victim in all of this, that it's his fault, or it's not his fault. It's anyone else's fault. It's Evers' revenge for him even thinking of running for governor. And he's called this malicious harassment and political payback from the Evers administration in his latest unhinged Facebook rant. Again, of course, as the Department of Revenue agents rolled up to his Minocqua tap room. And I think they did this in Madison too, and seized his beer because he had been brewing it in Illinois and being sold in Wisconsin without the required tax documentation, classifying it as contraband under state alcohol beverage laws. So just another screw up. Now, I think this investigation started, of course, before he even thought about running for governor, but the timing is perfect.
Well, Tony Evers is unfairly targeting a fellow Democrat. As a lifelong Democrat myself, I cannot stand for this. And frankly, between the Democrat Party's silence on the genocide in Gaza and now this, I will be sitting out in November. And in fact, I am calling on all my fellow Democrats to sit out the November election. We cannot let this stand. Okay. I thought we were better than the maggot Republicans. Okay. So no, seriously though. This guy, like, he's either the most incompetent person in the world, or he's just really this dumb that, it seems like everyone else can follow these laws.
He truly just doesn't care
about
laws, or doesn't think they apply to him, or he could, again, talk his way or just, finagle his way out of these situations. Like, again, he thought he could talk his way out of onto the ballot and prove that 2,000 nomination signatures were valid. He thought he could talk his way out of getting this, the state law, that requires tax permits for out-of-state beer sold in Wisconsin. And he didn't pay the excise taxes on it. There's required inspections on safety standards. And the Department of Revenue worked with the brewery and its legal counsel for several months prior to this raid on his brewery.
They're not quite busting down his door with a CNN crew in tow, but I guess some plainclothes DNR people with some local cops and a Lakeland Times reporter.
Right.
I think it's about as best as we're going to get.
I wonder that Lakeland Times reporter, who we have to credit, got this scoop first.
Which, I mean, who else would get the scoop?
But I mean, just like, that's a chef's kiss moment. They had to, the person, I would love to have seen them flip the camera for just a second and see the enormous grin on that Lakeland Times reporter's face. But yeah, so he went in this lengthy Facebook post on Friday, claiming it was malicious harassment and alleged it was politically motivated by Democrat Governor Tony Evers in response to Bangstad's criticism and failed gubernatorial campaign. Bangstad did outline this multi-year timeline of disputes with distributors, online sales restrictions, and permitting issues, blaming, of course, everyone's favorite boogeyman when it comes to illicit or intoxicating beverages and materials, the Tavern League, of course, and beer distributors, and the Republican-supported laws. So, of course, never the Democrats' fault. It's always those damn Republicans and Tony Evers. He stated that attempts to comply with these laws and shifting production to Illinois and applying for storage permits were met with inconsistent enforcement that required for leniency on a $500 excise tax that was denied. So, again, he had what he thought were receipts, but at the end of the day, the law wins, revenue wins, and now Department of Revenue can celebrate its own free beer day with $25,000 worth of Minocqua brewing product, which, quite frankly, I think is better used as maybe a marinade, maybe just
a paperweight.
Yeah,
That's all I would ever use it for.
I think I'd use it in cooking. Like, I think you could figure out a way to
maybe some beer brats.
Yeah, some beer brats, maybe as a brine for a pork shoulder or something in the heavier chili. We can come up with the reasons for it, but the one thing I wouldn't do with any of that beer is drink it.
Yeah, well, Kirk had maybe we should have done a piece about Kirk Bangstad and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, because
very bad 6 months.
Got kicked off the ballot, and now his beer's getting stolen from him by the DNR of all people. Like
DOR.
Sorry, DNR, DOR, same thing.
Either way, it's bad enforcement.
Yeah.
So with that, I think you have to wonder now if some of this Bangstad news will drift over from the Madison tap room to the Dem convention being held in Madison,
right down the street.
Yeah, this weekend. So we're talking about this on Friday night before the convention even kicks off. So what we're going to say is maybe a bit speculative, maybe a bit in the past for you, but hear us out that the Madison Democrats are getting together in Madison this weekend, and you can expect some fireworks because they have a straw poll. They're going to debate resolutions, which we assume or expect to be calling for the end to school choice programs, the abolition of ICE, the adoption of ranked choice voting, the expansion of the Supreme Court, and other anti-democratic far-left power grabs. So, Shadow Gov, do you have any initial thoughts? Anything you really expect to see from convention? Anything you think is going to happen in that straw poll?
Well, I think like basically all the other polling that we've had in this Democrat primary for governor so far, it's probably not going to matter. Mm. Now, the polling in the actual polling done by polling firms has been interesting. That the numbers have been all over the place, but they generally tell a somewhat consistent story. The straw poll could be insane.
Yeah,
I mean. And we've talked about this. Kelda won the straw poll in 2018.
It's true. It's true.
Francesca Hong could very easily win. I mean, this is the county party people. Francesca's gotten around the state. Mandela and Sara, to a lesser extent, have as well. Crowley, even less. So it's like, how many of those people are actually going to convention and saying and voting in the straw poll? Is it they don't have the endorsement process like RPW? So is there really a drive for people to go? Is Francesca Hong going to county parties and saying, go to the straw poll, or go to the convention to vote in the straw poll?
Yeah, that's a good question.
They don't really. I don't. It's an amalgamation of who knows what.
Which leads me to ask the question: do you think Kirk Bangstad's supporters will, even a few of them,
in?
Well, right? Do you think he's going to get any traction in the straw poll? Do you think that's completely done? Do you think his people are so far left?
One.
Okay.
He'll get more than one person, but I don't think it'll be.
You're going to give it over under of 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
1.5.
Okay. Sure. That's fine.
I think that there'll be some. Maybe Kirk Bangstad himself might do it, but he's not going. I know. If he crashes convention,
that would be.
He gets taken out.
I would do that if I was him.
He would just take him out in cuffs or something.
Man, if we're talking about this now, and then on Monday we wake up, or Saturday, Sunday, whenever the convention, whenever it happens, would it surprise you if he came?
That would be the least surprising thing.
Came there with like Santa Claus with a cooler full of beer.
There's no way. I could see him like protesting outside or something.
He doesn't even
be annoying.
Yeah, well, like Brett Halsey.
Yeah,
with his Confederate general, as he did in the 2010 GOP. Yeah,
I could see him doing something like that, but I think most party people, I don't think J.R. Ross and Wiz Politics are going to put on the straw poll Kirk Bangstad.
No, but someone could write it in.
But someone, I guess, could write it in.
No, I'll have to ask J.R. if anyone actually does it. So,
well, he'll post those.
Yeah, he will. So, but will the write-ins?
We'll see.
So the things I am looking for the Dem convention, there's I think 3 things, and besides the straw poll. So we'll cover that last. So there is a session titled "Fighting for the Rule of Law: Federal and Wisconsin Courts in the Trump Administration," which they're probably not going to post anything from it. They're probably not going to be a video, but I would love to be on the fly of the wall of that, because what are they going to talk about is why we need to elect progressive far left judges and why the Supreme Court matters so much, and maybe some folks on the right would be mindful to recognize that this is their, it was the Republican strategy during the Obama administration was to stop judges. The reason why a lot of people were convinced to vote for Trump, begrudgingly, holding their nose or whatever, was Supreme Court and federal court appointments. So now you have the same scenario kind of in reverse. The Democrats need to hold up federal appointees. Tammy Baldwin kind of did it already, and they need to win the Wisconsin Supreme Court and all of these county and circuit court judge races. And from the Republican standpoint, we're not going to win the Supreme Court back next cycle, or several cycles, but
they'll chip at it slowly.
But we can chip at it slowly, and we can
stack
elect
the other federal
benches. and win at the circuit court level. Get more Anthony Lococos on the bench who will stop these things before they get to the Supreme Court.
And build the bench for the Supreme Court eventually.
Exactly. So the Dems, obviously, that's one. One of the other things I'm thinking about, or I'd love to know more about, is they have every coalition has their own little breakout work group. They got high schoolers, college students, Muslims, the LGBTQ plus IA, Seven Spirit, all that nonsense. They also have a Jewish coalition meeting. And I would, again, who's going to show up to the Dem Jewish coalition meeting right now? And are there going to be inner Democrat fights?
I'm sure there
with
will
the
be.
Gaza, the pro-Palestinian
there's a lot
River
of,
to the
there's
Sea
also
coalition.
A lot of Jewish Democrats that I think are also anti-Israeli government and very much pro-Palestine.
That's possible. I think there's just as many.
It's a lesser probably number.
There's still a lot of them are going to feel politically homeless as they get further and as the left moves further and further left, more anti-Israel, more anti-Semitic, and more pro-Gaza. You see this, I don't know, Jerry Seinfeld, every one of these videos come up, and I don't think he is by any means a conservative. Maybe. It'd be awesome if he was. I don't think he is, but
no.
You have these pro-Palestinian agitators going up to him and be like, Jerry, can we get a free Palestine? He's like, it doesn't exist. And I was like, yes. I was like, that is the second best answer. And the first best answer is saying from the river to the sea, Palestine should cease to be. But, you have a coalition within the Democrat Party that is unwelcome for the Francesca Hong wing of the party. So I'd love to see
which is the majority,
what that fight is. Now, of course, the other one, the GOP got out of it this year without any resolutions on the platform. The Democrats this year, could it be a thing? Again, if they have the video up, they're not going to say the pledge. They're not going to recognize that rights come from God. They're all of those little things could just chip away at their viability, at the seriousness of a convention. This, again, I'm not expecting them to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not expecting them to sing the national anthem. But you have this. Remember, it was the national level. It's like even the platform recognizing that your rights come from a divine creator. They refused that. And you have Tim Kaine and Tim Walz saying that the rights don't come from anything but government. So I'm interested to see how that fight plays out and where those lines get drawn. But more importantly, it is the straw poll. And so, Shadow Gov, I want to ask you, what would every candidate have? What would it look like for every candidate to claim they won the straw poll? Because it's not necessarily winning the straw poll. For some of these candidates, and we'll talk about it in the polling in a minute, that finishing second or third is the win. And so what would it look like for, say, David Crowley to quote unquote win the straw poll? Or again, what would it look like if Francesca Hong didn't win the straw poll? Because that shows that maybe the momentum with the establishment isn't there. And maybe the momentum with the true believers that show up to convention isn't there. So tell me, what do you think about how do you answer that question?
That's a tough one, because I think that I don't think the average Francesca Hong person is going to Dem convention.
This is a good point, because shortly after convention in Madison, we talked about this last week, and it's on the Heartland Post. And I don't think we have time necessarily to go into all of it right now, but Francesca Hong is kind of trying to get the momentum from convention to go to this rally. Now she's hosting with a handful of local electeds. I think Alderman Madison, who represents Madison.
Yep. And then Ro
Khanna, who's the big one. Who like once you peel back the fact that you realize that Ro Khanna doesn't carry anything, doesn't care about. He's completely phony. He does not care about anything besides Ro Khanna and what can do to elevate his perspective.
Did you see who was emceeing the event?
I did not see who was emceeing the event.
I believe the name, and I'm probably forgetting it, but I think it's something like Mercury Stardust is the MC.
So a drag queen.
No.
This
person on the internet goes colloquially by the trans handyman.
The trandy man. The trandy man.
He wears lots of makeup, and he just fixes stuff in his house.
I'm seeing this right now. Mercury Stardust.
And I'm pretty sure he actually came to the legislature to testify on some trans bills this last session. So he came and brought a lot of stuff.
Thinking about so many jokes about tools.
So it's just, there's a lot. That event is going to be something else. I'm sure I think they brought a comedian in and some live music. You got to give it to Francesca. They know how to put on a show. Whether you like the show or not is another thing, but kind of going back to convention though, like she's got this event, but I just don't see the average Francesca. I think there's a lot of like mainstream Democrats that are farther to the left that are like party people that'll vote for her. But the average like the DSA people, they're kind of like anti-establishment Democrats.
Yes.
So I don't really see them as being like the conventional people that go to the Democrat convention.
Not going to be a lot of Bernie bros.
I could see a lot of Kelda people. I could see a lot of Mandela people being there.
Sure.
So I could see a scenario, but I think Francesca also doesn't want to take like a bad position in the straw poll.
I get it. So let me ask so you think Hong can hand wave away winning or losing the straw poll by a point or two or vote or two because she's like, well, my rally's happening after that. That's my people. My people aren't the Democrat insider establishment. My DSA friends are all at the Atwood Music Hall to listen to Ro Khanna.
They were canvassing for me.
Sure. Okay.
They were utilizing their time otherwise.
Sure.
So like, I don't think she's going to have a crazy, like overwhelming blowout. And maybe I'm wrong. I think it could go one of two ways where she takes like a second place or a third place even, just because I think her people are just not convention people.
Okay.
If there was an endorsement to be had,
it'd be different.
It would be way different. But just because this is more of like a going through the motions convention than anything, because of course the Dem party leaders and donors decide most of the stuff anyway. Like this is more just like a rah-rah thing.
I 100% agree with it, that she could walk into Atwood Music Hall and be like, the 500 people here are so much more important to me than the donor class at convention. But we should talk about quickly, besides a parallel here is that so a lot of the Democrat candidates are having a hospitality suite. So Mandela Barnes is going to be there with a dive bar theme, which feels like he's ripping off Tom Tiffany.
Yeah, trying to do the tchotchke, Wisconsin
maybe he'll have fake muskies on the walls, and we'll get to that in a minute. David Crowley will have one. Francesca Hong will have a house party theme with beer, snacks, and activities. So maybe it'll be beer pong in a musty basement with some watered down vodka shots.
The David Crowley one doesn't have a description. So I'm assuming that's just like, it's just a room where you just walk into a fake HR office and they say you don't have health care. And they give you a shot to, so you can deal with it or something,
Former WDC Secretary Missy Hughes will have a cash bar, which is tacky, in what her campaign said would be a simple setting. So maybe it'll be rural. Like, what is that? Like
a simple setting. That's basically saying we ran out of money and like,
here's a cheese plate.
Yeah. Here's a cheese platter and maybe some bottles of water.
So Sara Rodriguez will have a forward tap room with a dive bar theme. Again,
so when I read this, I'm like, this is so on brand. Forward, I'm sorry. Everything is forward in Wisconsin. I'm tired of it.
Yep.
It's so played out. And this is like the atypical, like Sara is just like the bland, boring, no energy, no creativity. Like this is the most on brand thing for her.
Yes.
The forward tap room.
Oh my gosh, that is straight out of ChatGPT. Like I need a theme for my.
At least Mandela's trying something different, Wisconsin way plan, whatever.
Yeah.
Or Francesca's doing a house party. Like, okay, I get it. You're trying.
So is she gonna hand out beanies? Actually, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. I like it. Lean into it. The forward tap room.
Yeah.
Like just so devoid of anything. And there must not be enough good Democrat consultants in Wisconsin because there are like 8, campaigns and there's only so many consultants.
Mm-hmm.
But come on.
Yeah.
Forward tap.
And then Kelda will have a classroom theme, which sounds like the worst. With a spot to provide donations to classrooms for campaign set, which is
so contrived.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. And there will be a cash bar. Again, tacky.
I got endorsed by WEAC and we're going to really lean into the classroom. It's like,
was she going to hand out apples?
I just want a beer. Like, come on. I just want my Biden pale ale.
Right.
And drink it in peace.
Right.
I don't want to have to feel like I'm in a classroom.
Yeah. So, okay. Going back to the original thing, though.
Sorry.
Yes. These are actually like, these are pretty shitty tap rooms. Or excuse me.
I need to see pictures.
Yeah.
Of this.
Yeah. And Tony Evers, this thing is at like 1:30 in the afternoon. So it's before his nap. And
he wants to get out of there before.
I assume it's pickleball and ice cream themed.
Yeah.
And just a root beer float for everyone. So we talked about Francesca Hong and what it would look like if she won or didn't win. Though I think there's something to be said about the momentum. If she doesn't win, like that will be the Sara Rodriguez, the Missy Hughes, even David Crowley can be like, look, she didn't have the momentum at convention to win. She can't do it in November. You need to shift. And we'll talk about that polling in a sec. But David Crowley, Mandela Barnes, if they finish a tight second or third, you'd call that a win for them?
Yeah, but I don't think. I think it's the straw poll is going to be very similar to this last poll that we'll talk about from Sarah's camp, where it's going to be just their top 3 and the rest is all going to be like
this one
50.
You can't vote undecided. So you have 68% in those polls, or 58% undecided. You think Kelda? Okay.
I think Kelda will do better because that's kind of her crowd. Is like the party people in Madison on her home turf. Like, you just know that this is what Kelda's lived for, is like the party.
Yeah.
She is a party hack through and through.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's going to get all of her people there. I could see it right now, her trying to organize as many people to go to convention for this. Mm-hmm. I don't think Francesca, I think she cares, but I don't think she's like too concerned about it.
No.
Mandela is just hoping that his name ID alone will carry him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to spend any money. Mm-hmm. Kelda is obsessing about this, so I think she'll place.
You think
third or fourth?
So I think anything any less than third is a loss for Kelda.
Probably.
I think Sara Rodriguez is the same position. I think you have to finish top. Not have to, but like you can show that momentum that you have that you're claiming from this poll to be like, I'm the not socialist.
Mm-hmm.
She has to finish top 3.
She's also like, well, that's another time
and then
for the debate
I think
talk.
If you're Joel Brennan, you're Missy Hughes, even Kelda, like you need to finish above one of those top 4. Like, I'm sorry, like that's what it is.
You can't finish last. That's basically Missy Hughes.
Yeah, Joel, I think if Joel Brennan or Missy Hughes finish last, like that's the final nail in their campaign's coffin.
Well, but if they have but they're going to say, what's one straw poll?
They might.
They got 600,000 in the bank.
I think, and you're right. It could be so close that you could be talking about essentially a handful of votes between them and be like, look, it's a wide open thing. But like, if you're talking about Mandela, Francesca, and Sara Rodriguez being the top 3, and you're talking about a gap, like a genuine like chasm between Crowley, Hughes, Brennan, and Kelda, then you have a problem for those bottom 4. But I think you're right. I think it could go either way. I think it could all be, you're right, the same as you, like it could all end so close that anyone can claim it as a win.
And that's been what's been happening for the last couple of months is everyone finds a little narrative that works for their specific race.
But if Missy or Joel have a good speech, they have a good reception, they have a good, hospitality. If they finish above Kelda or Crowley or even Sara, that'd be tough. Then you're claiming momentum.
Yeah.
And if you're Sara or Kelda and you finish top 2, top 3, like you're claiming momentum. And again, I think the biggest problem would be if Francesca doesn't finish first.
I do think Joel Brennan's going to finish last, though, because all of his supporters are probably on yachts, somewhere on the East Coast.
Right. It's going to be a beautiful weekend in Madison. They might just be, sailing.
Yeah. Probably.
No, you're right. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But if you had to
interesting.
All right. So to cap this, if you had to finish it, if you had to predict the order of the 7 candidates, give me your picks.
I'm gonna go crazy right now, and I'm gonna do like a Francesca Hong leads, Sara second, Mandela third, Kelda fourth. It's tough, but I'll probably say Missy, Crowley, Joel.
Okay, so that would be crushing if Crowley finishes 5th.
Oh yeah, he's had such a lackluster campaign.
Yep.
And it's the conventions in Madison are a bunch of Milwaukee people. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some, but I don't know. That's my gut reaction. We'll see.
All right,
we'll taking some risks.
We're gonna, we'll have to talk about this on Monday. We'll have to write about this on the Heartland Post, our predictions and how they went. But all right, I will go Francesca, but it will be very close.
Okay.
I agree. Sara Russell Rodriguez could finish 2nd. Mandela finishing 3rd is a problem for him.
Oh, a huge problem. Yeah.
Now, maybe this is my bias because I worked at WEDC. Maybe it's me focusing on her for the Heartland.
You're about to be crazy, but continue.
Maybe I think that the establishment will see the non-Madison, non-Milwaukee candidate, and maybe she will spring for more than a cash bar and a cheese plate. Man, I'm talking myself out of this as I'm saying it, but I have to commit. I'm at this point where I have to commit. I will put Missy 4th.
That is insane.
I will put Kelda 5th.
That is crazy.
And I will be wrong.
That is crazy.
Maybe it's.
I'm sorry. You said Missy has a cash bar and she's going to finish 4th. Granted, Democrats, do you think they really care about that?
What you should do, honestly, at this point, screw the cash bar. Get a bunch of THC drinks. Get a bunch of Delta 8 and Delta 9. Be like, we should legalize it. Here's some weed drinks.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that'll
be cool. We are better Democrat consultants than we should be. We should be being paid.
Francesca's house party is definitely going to have something. So.
Right. She's just dream blunt rotation right there. Okay. So I'm putting Missy 4th. I'm putting Kelda 5th. And I'm going to be wrong. I am well aware I'm going to be wrong.
Okay.
That's fine. I gotta vary this up. I gotta make a bet. I'll put Crowley 5th or 6th.
Wow. Okay.
And Brennan 7th. And Brennan could be so far behind it's a problem.
But he just went.
And I will take the over on Kirk Bangstad.
Oh yeah. I think Kirk Bangstad will be. Someone will write him in. So
I will take the over. I'll say 3. I'll say 3. So
okay.
All right. So now that we covered that, we got to talk about this polling that came out. I think we'll go to that next. We've already hinted at it a lot. So Sara Russell Rodriguez, Tony Evers' favorite lieutenant governor, and that's not saying a whole lot, put out a poll recently that, again, was really odd. But Dan Schaefer tried his damnedest to do a lot of spin into. And the poll said that... Again, polled everyone for Democrat for governor and put Mandela Barnes at 26%, Hong at 22%, and Sara Russell Rodriguez at 15%. No other candidate was above 5%, and 18% of likely voters remain undecided. Now, Dan Schaefer, of course, our favorite leftist, said that in an informed, quote-unquote, vote, where candidates' biographies are shared, Lieutenant Governor Sara Russell Rodriguez leads the field with 33%. So he is trying so hard to put Sara Russell Rodriguez on his back and carry her across the finish line because he's realized that it's his shanking of Tony Evers that gave us Francesca Hong.
Well, not only that, and Dan Schaefer, very interestingly, he also had a piece just today, or he was referencing his piece where he was calling out David Crowley's campaign. He basically was saying, I really like David Crowley. But I think that they've made some serious missteps and they need a wake-up call.
Because they've been running the campaign of a woke white suburban woman.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So he said what we've been saying for months at this point. Mm-hmm. But this is my favorite poll so far, mainly because this is a Sara Rodriguez internal.
Yes.
Again, internal poll, meaning this poll is somewhat of a push poll to see like, hey, if more people learn about me as a candidate, will they be likely to vote for me? It's an informed, you're informing the voters on, they say, who are you going to vote for? And they say, did you know that Sara Rodriguez was your lieutenant governor? Are you more or less likely to vote for that person after hearing this
information? She's a spunky nurse that cares about things.
Who worked for the CDC and whatever. Nonsense. So in her own internal, she's coming in a distant third. Okay.
Right.
So this is really bad news for her. The fact that her own internal, which is already kind of pushed to be more, favorable to her, and she can't break into she's barely breaking into the double digits, where she's really been living in the, high teen or high single digits for most of this campaign. And then only after the informed vote, because no one knows who she is, let alone that she's the current lieutenant governor, then people are willing to support her.
Right. And let me describe what that informed question was. And that's, again, Sara Rodriguez, your CDC employee, your current lieutenant governor. And the other candidates are Mandela Barnes, who's that schmuck that lost to Ron Johnson, and Francesca Hong, who's a socialist toddler, and David Crowley, who's basically a white woman, and Kelda Roys, who's a Karen who you hate, and Missy Hughes, who's a fake Bond villain, and Joel Brennan, who's a rich white guy. That's how they pitch those other candidates. It's not, there's no seriousness to how they describe the other ones, but of course they bolster the resume of Sara Rodriguez.
And hilarious though that this informed vote, it's at 33%, which is not like leaps and bounds, like above what Barnes is before, an informed vote on Barnes or something.
Right.
So like the fact that the thing about the informed question is that people have to, like, in practice, so if the more people know about you, the better you look, the better you poll. Except for more people have to hear that.
Yeah.
And frankly, Sara having 100 and some odd grand.
Yeah, that small 6-figure buy from the LG Association.
Like, that's not going to do it.
Exactly.
That you're like, if you're Sara, you have to be on TV bombing the airwaves right now. Absentee ballots are going to go out in late July.
Yeah.
You have a month and some odd days in a week here to really get things going.
And you need to spend every dollar on, you can't spend it on network. You're going to have to spend it on cable. So you're going to have to buy for nickels on MS Now and CNN, and then a bunch of digital. Like, that's all you can do at this point.
Yeah.
And that is true of every campaign. Like, no campaign right now is streets ahead on finances. Like, everyone's kind of in the same boat financially. Francesca Hong had that sugar rush of low dollar donors, which we talked about. We predicted this.
That Hassan Piker live stream will probably bring in some
We'll see.
money.
Like, that kind of went quiet.
I think they're waiting. I think they'll do it.
You think they're going to drop? I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying that got a lot of hype and then went quiet. But Joel Brennan dropped an ad, and we'll just talk about that in a second. But yeah, you're right. Every candidate right now is pretty much in the same boat, is that they're riding some sort of wave, and that's Francesca Hong riding the DSA wave, Mandela Barnes riding his former name ID wave, and Sara Rodriguez trying to get into this with the informed poll. But she released that, and again had Dan Schaefer spin it as the informed poll, because they're starting to realize that if no one gets their act together, Francesca Hong, who is arguably the weakest of the candidates and the most flawed, who has the furthest left position that normie, independent, center-left candidate voters can't pull the trigger on, will get the nomination. And so she's trying to say that I'm the one who has the momentum. I'm the one who's the safe alternative. And she released that poll as an effort to get Democrat insiders to clear the field, as they always do, as they did in 2022, as they did in 2020 for Joe Biden. Like, they tried to do this all the time. I tried to look up when's the last time they had a really significant primary. Now, in Tony Evers, there was 10 candidates, I think, that ran for office. Yeah, but 2018 was one. But prior to that, like, there hasn't been more than 3 candidates for the Dems in a long time, and that was Jim Doyle coming out of the after Tommy years, and it was, I think, 3 candidates in that generation. Yeah. So this is Sara trying to say that she's the one we need to get behind, and I think she'll make that case at convention.
Well, you know the meme. Of course, you don't know the meme. You need to follow me on X at Robin_Voss_Stan. But there is that movie called The Whale, and Brendan Fraser's character, he kind of like, he's sitting on the couch, he just kind of looks up, and there's the meme. It's like, Democrats don't even try to win a primary anymore. They just sit here and look at you like this. And it's like, that's kind of what's going on. Sarah's like, hey, I'm in 3rd place, but guess what? The top 2 people I don't think they're going to win. I'm the most electable candidate. Why don't you vote for me? Can you help me out here?
Yep.
And so I expect Sara Rodriguez's speech at convention to be very heavily focused on electability, and that I'm the only one that can win. I mean, I think Missy and Joel to a lesser extent will as well. But Sara will be saying, like, I'm going to carry on the legacy of, Tony Evers and what he started.
Yep.
I'm the electable one, yada, yada, yada.
Even though as his lieutenant governor,
she's done nothing.
She has done nothing and has not gotten his endorsement. And he has said he's staying out of it. And of course, we can go back to like episode 3 to talk about the fact that she dropped her announcement video before he said he wasn't running for re-election. Let's remember that. Like, that rift has been there for a long time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite little behind the scene feuds that it's not even about behind the scene feud. It's like Tony just said something in public and you're like, oh, usually you don't say that about your own lieutenant governor, but
but
I guess no big deal.
There's a constant truth in Wisconsin Democrat politics, and that's that if you're a Democrat governor, you absolutely freaking hate your lieutenant governor. That goes back to Jim Doyle. That goes back generations. So, but we're talking about the candidates right now. Let's talk a little bit for a moment about Joe Brennan, who launched a statewide TV ad buy that, look, if I was in his position, this is the ad I would run to introduce myself. It's a cutesy thing, a little too sugary, a little too sweet, little too forced, in my opinion. But they cover his strengths and his weaknesses, which are dad jokes and bad dancing, which, come on, right?
It's like, come on, we're not all of us are just caricatures.
So his kids do the entire thing. Allison and Connor are there to talk about their dad, who's just happens to be in their family kitchen wearing a sweatshirt. Just a little too obvious. But again, I think but
that's his thing.
You need to,
lane.
Right. You need to build your name ID. You need to advertise yourself as a nice white man. This is the ad you run. And we can play it for you right here because it's a 30-second spot. So let's do that quick.
Our dad, Joel Brennan, is running for governor.
We can tell you about his strengths and weaknesses. Strengths: hard worker, paid his way through college.
25 years in business and nonprofits.
Ran Wisconsin's largest science museum for kids.
Governor Evers made dad his top cabinet official.
Built a budget surplus. Cleaned up Scott Walker's mess.
Now weaknesses:
dad jokes.
Dance moves.
Did you mention his clothes?
Come on. Joel Brennan, common sense, experience, a governor for us.
And his clothes, by the way, are a Bucks sweatshirt. Now, the one thing I want to pull out, there may be 2 things, but one of them really stood out. I was like, cleaned up Scott Walker's mess. Like, I know during the early days of the Walker administration, like, blaming Jim Doyle was an easy thing to do because he was a schmuck, and still is, but as governor was a schmuck. Does after 8 years of Tony Evers, like, trying to claim that, you cleaned up Scott Walker's mess really resonate with Democrat? Like, maybe it's a Democrat thing. Maybe that was message tested. Yeah.
Well, based off the ad, he could be anybody.
Right.
So they got a signal, he's a Democrat.
Right.
Okay. So
that could be David Gordon, like, it could be.
But it's such a slight, like, just Scott Walker's mess from 10 years ago.
Right.
It's like you gotta tell Democrats that you're still a Democrat at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but this is Joel Brennan's lane. This is about as on brand as we can possibly get. But guess what? This isn't the Democrat Party of 2018.
As we talked about, 1998. That is a great candidate for 1998.
Yeah, I mean it's the Chachki thing, but like they just.
Let me say one thing though
about
him being quote unquote picked to be Tony Evers' DOA secretary. Now, again, someone who worked for Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and had Joel Brennan come into WEDC to introduce himself, he admitted in his first meeting with WEDC that he had never met Tony Evers before Tony called him on the phone and said, "Hey, do you want to be my DOA secretary?" Bruh. Like any other situation, and it's well known in state politics, you pick two of your best friends for positions. If you're the governor, your best friend is your chief of staff and your DOA secretary. And that's always been the case. The two most trusted people you need are running the largest state administration or division and your chief of staff. And Tony Evers didn't know who this guy is. But of course, Kevin Conroy from Exact Scientists, who donated a bunch of money to Tony, said, "Hey, you should make my brother-in-law. He needs a job. Make him your DOA secretary." And Joel took it and again, gets to take credit for whatever Tony did over the past couple of years, which is mostly Republican stuff. But still, it's just like that if someone wanted to take a shot at him at convention or just in general about like what he actually did as DOA secretary, it's really pretty minuscule.
Yeah, and that's why he's not saying much other than, "Hey, I'm a dad, and my dance moves aren't super great, but boy, it's because I know how to clean up government."
That's because I'm a white man.
So this is just quite literally Joel Brennan lighting money on fire. And I put a little funny thing on the X because I thought I was being pretty funny. The other day when I saw this ad, and I thought, it's a good ad, but yeah, this would have been this is essentially just welfare for Democrat consultants.
Should I sing Sarah McLachlan? I will remember you. Do you want me to do that as you?
Well, pretty much. I mean, as I said, for only $110,000, you can feed a starving Democrat consultant. Will Joel did it. You can too. Call now and start your recurring donation of $10,000 every time Francesca Hong says the F word. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. There's so many. My last comment being, this primary is feeding generations of Democrat consultants. Just the sheer amount of money that is going in. So,
but you know what? One consultant, or at least one intern that needs to be fired, is from Mandela Barnes' campaign.
Or maybe his entire campaign.
Yeah, who posted his Wisconsin Way agenda. Now, I, of course, wrote for the Heartland Post that it's wrong in every way, but we got to talk about just the first graphic, which was highlighted by everyone in the Wisconsin political circle. Because as the Democrats know, as we know about the Democrats, they don't know what a dairy cow looks like. They don't know what a muskie looks like. So he put out his Wisconsin Way policy, and we'll break that down in a second. But the opening graphic features a fish that looks like AI slop. It more looks like a barracuda than a muskie. And anyone just tweak the AI prompt for a second. Make the top of the fish green. Make the fins on that, which it has way too many, but make the fins a little rust colored, and you could at least pass it off. Now, this fish looks like it should be the alternate logo of the Clearwater baseball, single A team, and call themselves the Barracudas, with a little smiling, toothless fish. So just right off the bat, everyone saw that this was AI slop and a half-assed effort by the Barnes campaign to put out policy. Now, you talked about some of these policies last week. His egg policy is mostly Republican bills. He doubled down on his utility rate freezes, which is illegal under state law. He also wanted to forgive medical debts and expand government healthcare programs. And of course, forgiving debt means the burden shifts to the taxpayers from the people who pay or owe those debts. And expanding Badger Care would add billions in long-term costs at a time when Wisconsin is not really able to take those on, or is ever able to take those on. He promises universal child care, paid family leave, and mandated higher pay for providers, which has been tried in New York, California, and Washington, and produced massive wait lists, severe staffing shortages, and exploding taxpayer costs. So not only is his policy, his Wisconsin way, unworkable and wrong, it's illegal, and is drawing all the negative attention it deserves.
Well, he also spelled Wisconsin wrong originally.
Oh, yep. I forget. Yeah.
And I never want to hear the Democrats talk about AI, data center moratoriums, a bunch of nonsense. When you just know that they use AI for all kinds of stuff, So I don't want to hear about this. Oh,
I don't even want to knock AI use. Just like,
no, of course not.
Tweak your prompt. Get the color of the fish right.
That's what I'll also require. And I speak as someone who's not like I'm not an angler. I am a person that puts a line down and in hopes that something bites on it.
Right.
I'm the person that I fish off the dock.
Okay.
And I see the fish and I take the bait
Mm-hmm.
and I put it I'm basically like ramming the hook into the fish's front portion, like, hey, take it.
And you're talking to someone,
bite on it.
And I'm someone whose children have already won fishing contests.
Yeah, you are much more of the angler than I am. And I was like, come on. This is AI, clearly. Like, come on. You guys are the Democrats. Isn't like everybody like a graphic designer on the side? I feel like that's just
their passion.
It's like everyone has a Canva subscription in the Democrat Party. Like, you guys couldn't have come up with something a little bit better than that. But Mandela Barnes, I know he's trying to be the kind of, I'm the Wisconsin folksy guy, but like, it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats they want something exciting. Like, if you're not abolishing ICE or calling for the arrest of the president or something, or calling it a fascist, authoritarian, racist, homophobic regime, like, you're not really going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So the Wisconsin way sounds good for those general election voters, but for those primary voters,
Yeah. And, I want to highlight, though, a friend of the show, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel Opinions, put out probably the most epic graphic I've seen in a long time that proves that Mandela Barnes really likes fish sticks.
I did not see this.
Did you see this? Okay,
I did not see this.
You have to kind of understand the South Park reference.
Oh, yes.
So it has him holding his barracuda in the water. And, great work. Actually, that's from that was retweeted. I saw it from Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel online, but it was retweeted from the Jesse_HQ account, which is a wonderful account if you want to follow the Jesse Barnes campaign HQ.
Not the official one, but it is definitely a good one that I think people should definitely follow for more updates on everything Jesse.
And so just as you thought we were going to stop talking about candidates for governor, we have to talk a little bit about David Crowley. And two things that really stood out to us. One is, call it the blind squirrel finding a nut. But he came out this week and said that he wants to repeal minimum markup on gas. And
wow.
Yeah.
So bold.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Just a refreshing take from a Democrat. Really someone who's going to lead us into the future is doing the thing that Republicans have called on for at least 10 years.
For the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the moderate problem solver. Meanwhile, let me just use something that Republicans have been talking about for years.
Exactly. But he also was co-endorsed by the organization Bloc, BLOC. Now, I got to admit, there's one thing cool about Bloc, and that's their logo. So in this video that they put out stating their half endorsement of David Crowley, they have a Wisconsin picture and says a Bloc state of mind. I have a very similar shirt for the Bucks. I can't remember. It says Milwaukee state of mind, but it's actually pretty cool. I think it's a local design. So credit to them for that minimum. But Bloc stands for Black Leaders Organizing for Communities. sounds great, but it is in fact a Tide-funded George Soros Open Society Foundation philanthropic network funded organization, getting, again, left-wing money to promote various left-wing causes like eliminating school choice, abolish of ICE, and adopting ranked choice voting and all these things. And they have this really kind of quirky thing that you have to do to go and get their endorsement. And that's a, what do they call it? A silent
canvas.
Silent canvas. So you as a candidate have to go with a volunteer and just stand there silently while they talk to voters and get the topics that they want to talk about. So kind of a weird organization in that, but, again, Soros-funded, left-wing dark money organization, Black leaders organizing for communities, and they came out with this little video, and I don't want to necessarily play the whole thing. I actually think it's kind of long, but they have endorsed Crowley, so they kind of hedged their bets with the establishment Milwaukee Black candidate, and also endorsed Francesca Hong.
I don't know if this reminded me when I first saw this is when Trump endorsed Eric for Missouri right. Missouri Senate. I can't remember. It was Eric Schmidt and then Eric. I couldn't remember the other guy's name.
No, right. There was two Erics. He's like, I'm endorsing Eric.
Yeah. So that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So that they both were claiming that he was endorsed by Donald Trump, and it had the desired effect. But this is the death knell of David Crowley's campaign.
Okay.
If convention is not already the eventual death knell,
where I predicted he would finish fifth.
I think.
Yeah, sure.
I think he's going to be at the bottom. I don't know. I just gut feeling. He just has been trending in that direction, or if not just sideways, just slightly down. But this is supposed to be like, you're David Crowley, and I understand Mandela's like from Milwaukee, but like Mandela hasn't really been in Milwaukee. Like, he was in the assembly from Milwaukee for a number of years. He was lieutenant governor, but he's been kind of away from there, from the Milwaukee scene. From an outsider's view, that's how I see it.
Sure.
He was obviously very much in it when he was in the assembly. He probably still is to a certain extent, but it's not the same. David Crowley represents the entire county of Milwaukee. Like, that's a huge constituency. That's a huge opportunity. You were the fresher face from Milwaukee. So I don't think, like, you have the opportunity to lock down Milwaukee as like, this is your fiefdom. This is your base of support. Missy Hughes isn't from here. Joel Brennan is, okay. What, the Upper East Side? Like,
Wauwatosa.
Like, right. You can have that, I suppose. Yeah. But everything else is fair game for Crowley. And Block, without knowing every single detail about them, it seems to be despite having some questionable funding sources, a grassroots Black American group for Milwaukee. This is supposed to be your bread and butter, and Crowley's gone. I know he's big into like the DEI stuff, and he's very much into that. So, like, you would feel that this would be like, you have to lock this down. Yeah. And you basically have to split it with Francesca Hong. Oh, what a blow. What a blow. Like, this is supposed, you have to lock, you cannot make mistakes. And I don't know what their endorsement process is besides this silent canvas, but like,
so weird.
You can't not win these local endorsements. It's kind of like when the Courier said that they weren't going to endorse Mandela. Like, that's a huge blow for him. Block, like, these local Milwaukee groups, like, you need to have these.
So I think they're hedging their bets. They're like, we got to pick. We want to pick Francesca, but maybe we got to pick our local guy. I think I
think that too, 100%. Yeah, like, they have to hedge it as well. They're like, we can't not endorse David, right?
Yeah.
So, but they like Francesca.
This is a slap in the face to Mandela.
Yeah.
He got Block's endorsement during his 2022 Senate campaign. He participated in that silent canvas, and he just did it like a week ago.
Yeah.
From the day you were going to hear this, maybe 10 days from when he went out there, he did that whole thing. He jumped through the hoops, and he was not included in the endorsement. And so I think that talks about the reality that
He's
Barnes
lost a lot of
facing.
support.
Yeah.
Like we said, the Courier didn't want to endorse him.
And don't forget Reed Epstein of the New York Times put out that kind of long form piece that I don't think it necessarily named a whole lot of actual Democrats, but used some off the record sources to talk about how Mandela Barnes failed once in a very winnable cycle against a very vulnerable senator. And I say that not as a conservative who loves Ron Johnson, but as the pragmatic side that recognized that he's kind of a lightning rod, and that cycle was pretty bad for Republicans, that Mandela Barnes should be a U.S. senator right now, and he blew it. And the New York Times knows that. Wisconsin's oldest black newspaper, the Milwaukee Courier, knows that, and now Block sees that. And so I feel like, again, they wanted to pick Francesca, but they knew they had to pick one of the black guys in this race.
So, yeah, but just kind of a horrible scenario for David Crowley. Like, you can't afford to have mistakes like this. And kudos to Francesca. I don't know. Again, I don't know what their endorsement process is, but to get a half endorsement, that's a huge win. That's a huge win for her.
So Shadow Gov, I think before we get out of here, we have to talk a little bit beyond the Democrat candidates for governor. We have to talk about the Assembly and the Senate. And there were two pieces this week, and I got to credit you. You wrote one of them for the Heartland Post about the projected blue wave that meets the 97-seat reality. And you wrote about the fact that for the first time in a long time, the Assembly Republicans are playing in just about every race. And as someone who worked in the Assembly in 2014, 2016, that was not what happened. And I think that became a talking point for the Dan Schaffers, who were like, well, Republicans won more seats, but Democrats won more votes. And that was a function of the fact that Republicans chose, rightly or wrongly, to let a dozen, maybe 20 seats go because they were, blue seats. And they thought, well, let's not compete and let's focus on the incumbents and let's focus on the 10 winnable races. But in this case, the Assembly Republican Campaign Committee is doing something special. And I'll turn it over to you.
Well, and I wanted to clarify first with the Senate, because the Senate's easier in quicker.
We'll talk to them about them in a minute.
Okay. But obviously a Senate seat has 3 Assembly seats in it, so slightly easier to recruit. But the Democrats in 2024, they're coming off, getting new legislative maps. They're on their little, all hopped up on energy and optimism and
hopium.
Hopium. And they fielded 97 candidates in 2024. And that was a huge accomplishment. I mean, there's 99 seats in the Assembly. That's a lot of seats to contest. And we're talking in every seat. We're talking from up north, west, east, south central.
You talk about the
every
deep
corner.
Red Waukesha, Jefferson County, Dodge County.
Those 70%, that's 70% Lang County seat. We're talking up north where you see the F. Joe Bidens or Let's Go Brennan signs.
Right.
They're contesting in that in 2024.
Because they thought they had the wind at their back.
They thought they had the wind in their back. And obviously, we all know what happened in 2024. Now, obviously, with the newer maps, they still gained some seats. And so they saw that as a win. But it seemed to like kind of a letdown where it's like, oh, man, I really thought we had an opportunity to take majorities.
They won the ones that they were kind of projected to win. And those were the ones that were redrawn favorably. But they didn't pick off the incumbents that were, those top tier targets.
Yeah, so I don't want to say it was a disappointment for them, but I would say it was kind of a letdown. Well, fast forward to 2026, and we've gone through almost 2 years in the Trump admin. Obviously, we believe he's done a lot of good stuff, but some people think that it's unpopular.
And the reality is the party of the president at midterms traditionally loses seats. I think the two outliers on that are actually 2022, when Republicans didn't pick up as much as they thought they would in the Joe Biden era, and in 2002, coming out of 9/11, when Republicans, I think, picked up a seat or two.
I think they picked up a lot.
Yeah, and it wasn't a whole lot,
but it defied the national trend.
It did.
Of the party out of power.
Yeah, and you see that 2006, Republicans got wiped out. 2010, the Obama voters turned Republicans picked up a boatload of stuff, and
it's like 40 seats.
Yeah, and in Wisconsin, they went from being in the minority in at least one of the chambers to being a majority in both and winning the governorship. Yeah, no. Those flips happen. 14 was a great year for Republicans.
Mm-hmm. But
18 was a bad year. Yeah.
But 26 now, we have a scenario where at the national level, although the generic ballot seems to be very, very close, Trump's polling has always been not the greatest.
Polarizing, yeah.
So I wouldn't read too much into it, but there's a lot of Democrats that are banking on it's a Trump. They're wanting a 2018 redux.
Right. It's a Trump referendum. When you said you kind of hinted at it, but the generic ballot has Republicans down one, even maybe up one. Like it's plus or minus 2 across the board. And traditionally, in years when Republicans are tied or losing, of course, winning. Don't hear what I'm not saying. If they're winning on the generic ballot, it's
fantastic.
Game over. But if they're tied or losing by 1 or 2 points on the generic ballot, that means you're holding majorities or winning seats in those swing districts.
Yeah. So that would be obviously the best case possible for Republicans, but the Democrats are kind of on their high horse. There's, I'm sure they're measuring the drapes. They're like, oh, we're going to win a trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
Francesca Hong as governor. We're going to have the legislature. Hands down, we can ram through everything we possibly can. Well, that happened, and they tried to do that in 2024 with 97. It didn't work out. Now you have Republicans coming back and fielding 97 of their own candidates across the state. And that means running people in inner city Milwaukee.
Right.
We're talking, inside of Madison, not just like, touching Madison, like inside the city of Madison. Now, does that mean that Republicans are going to sweep 70 seats? No. But I'd rather be competitive. I'd rather not give a Democrat a free shot and let those resources go elsewhere. Or, maybe make a Democrat think twice about, well, I'm going to go help out this seat next to me since they need help and I don't, because I don't have an opponent. So I would rather have people on the ballot than not. And it's kind of hard to find the data on this. I was looking through some Wikipedia pages, and it's kind of tough to find exactly. And also, you have to think that every 10 years we get new maps. So like fielding X amount of candidates in 2010 is not the same as fielding X amount of candidates in 2012, 1990, 1980. It's kind of hard to compare apples and oranges, which is why I compared basically 2024 and 2026. But they're generally, Republicans have never, well, I don't say never, but rarely have fielded this many candidates.
No,
before.
But the reality is, I am one of those people that doesn't think a candidate should get a free pass. Like they should be challenged. And again, even if they're doing a good job, even if they're in a safe district, keep them honest, make them work their district. And that's why, you got Yasmin Outlaw against Ryan Clancy. You've got Nina Chat in the former Francesca Hong seat. You've got Mike Morgan running in the former Robin Vining seat. And that's just the top line list of people who I'm looking at right now who, and they might not win. They probably won't win, but they're gonna do things that if they can pull a couple hundred votes to the Republican side because they got someone knocked their door and inspired them to vote Republican. Like that's how you win statewide. It's that's that all boats rise sort of mentality. And that's those people, they might not be winning those seats, but they can elevate their profile. They can prove themselves. Maybe it's not the assembly seat they can win, but maybe the Senate seat they can. And maybe it's the congressional seat. Maybe it's their county party. Maybe it's their county board. Like getting that experience and getting them involved is just so important. And, credit to RAC for being able to do this and not letting those blue seats, get a free pass and let Ryan Clancy and Deb Andraka and Kaylin Haywood go, ignore their own district to go knock doors, in those swing districts. Like, give them something to fight for and give them 18% becomes 22%, becomes 30% or 40%. Like that's huge, and that can ripple out for Eric Toney, for John Leiber, for Will Martin, or David Varnum and Tom Tiffany with ease.
Well, and think about, there's a name that comes to mind that you have to think about for these scenarios. there's obviously a lot. I think a lot of the results are kind of baked in because of the maps, and there's just certain mathematical realities that are hard to get around. However, voters change. Like there's the reason that people are so obsessed about electoral maps is because people like studying how people change and how when people move, do they change how they vote, and just how demographics change, and then voting patterns change. And so nothing is for sure. Okay. You know, I was looking at some old election results, and I was looking at a point where Rob Hutton was running unopposed.
Yeah.
Rob Hutton, who represented, you know, kind of the Tosa area many years ago in the assembly, was running unopposed. And now the maps were different, of course, but like that seems like a far cry. I mean, that is it more than a decade ago, but things can change. And I think about, like, for example, Jim Ott.
Yeah.
Jim Ott wasn't supposed to lose.
Legalize Ott, man.
Yeah. So he wasn't supposed to lose, and he represented the now Deb Andraka seat. So the Ozaukee County, it was different than back then, of course, but now represents kind of the Whitefish Bay, Thiensville, Ozaukee County area, and it's a fairly blue seat now. And that was considered a very red seat.
Yeah.
And I remember when there was debates between Andraka and Jim Ott. I remember this very, very well. And that shouldn't have happened, but voters have changed. And so all I'm saying is you can't win if you don't have someone on the ballot. And so I just encourage anyone, you know, I applaud the people for anyone for stepping up to run. It's not an easy thing to do. Right. And to have 97 of them, I think is a fantastic accomplishment.
What's really cool is we're already working to help voters get to know some of these candidates, some of these stretch races, some of these swing districts. I'm already working, texting them, getting on the emails, and we're going to do it for the Heartland Post. We're going to do it for the New Fashion Conservatives, and getting all of that. We're going to put a map together, and we're going to have interviews with as many as possible, and if that means we go to 2 a week, or every couple of days, we're going to have a video on the Heartland Post. That's what's going to happen to help you understand where these candidates are running, and give you an opportunity to hear from them personally, and why you should be helping them, and hopefully that inspires you. And you talk about these shifts. I don't have it in front of me, and I wish I did. I didn't necessarily know we were going to talk about it, but go look at Chuck Quala's seat in the Wisconsin State Senate. Go look at what that was in the 80s and 90s. It's not the city of Milwaukee. It's not Dane County. He represented this odd triangle that was from Oconomowoc down to Franklin and across the southern, southwestern side of Waukesha County. Like, check out his map. And that's one that stands out to me. Again, I wish I could talk about it. And the other one, but the other one that I want to talk about, friend of the show, friend of mine, someone who I actually had the pleasure of working for, Scott Krug. 2010 rolls around. Now, I know it's a Republican wave year, but the Republicans had their targets. And one they weren't targeting was Marlin Schneider, Snarlin Marlin, who was the 40-year incumbent, who was the dean of the Wisconsin Democrat Assembly Caucus. Scott Krug, 2010 runs in, again, a blue seat, forgotten about. He wasn't on RAC's radar. He wasn't on the radar. All of a sudden, election night rolls around, and people are going, who the hell is Scott Krug? Because he just defeated Marlin Schneider. And in 2012, 2014, 2016, ever since, Scott Krug has won and held that district. And it went from the Dems' top target to someone they don't even really need to try to recruit against, because Scott's going to win it. So you talk about these people who can hold seats, who can win seats. It starts in these years, these potentially lean years, where you get your name out there. I know Van Wangard's another one. He ran for assembly against Corey Mason in, I think it was 6. And he came kind of close. He met with Scott Fitzgerald, and Scott looked at his number and said, man, you'd be a really good senator. Turns around 2010, wins that seat from, what's his name? It's going to kill me because we're so far along on this that I can't quite remember. John Lehman. Lehman's his name, who ran for lieutenant governor and got the doors blown off him in 2014. But he runs. Unfortunately, Van gets recalled, and again, it's a swing district that has never retained an incumbent. So it switches flip, flop, like, Michael Scott getting a vasectomy. It flips back and forth. But he won it in 10, lost it in 11, came back in 12 or whatever the next cycle was, because there was redraws and whatnot. Comes back, wins it. Is back in the Senate and has held it for a long time now. That Senate district's very different now. But again, you're talking about these situations where you get these people in now, you get them a chance to run. They add a couple points here and there, makes it Tom Tiffany's chance of winning even better, helps the caucus, helps their profile. It's a win all around. And now, of course, we got to talk about the Senate for a second, because the same thing is going on there.
But to a lesser extent.
No, right, because a lesser extent in the fact that only half the Senate is up. Instead, the Assembly, all 99 seats are up. So, of course, you naturally have more. But on the flip side, you also have half the Senate up. And Patrick Teston wrote a column for the Heartland Post about the core 4 candidates who will keep the Senate majority. And he talks about, he wrote this thing about all of them. Mike Roberts, someone who, look, if you don't know Mike Roberts by now,
you need to.
And he's the coolest guy. Awesome dude.
Throws a mean fastball.
Yes, is a hard worker. Like, you couldn't on paper create
a better candidate
exactly than Mike Roberts.
It is the hardest seat.
Yes,
too.
Right,
but he is,
and he's running against the very weird Robin Vining, who
pastor,
right, quote unquote, wine Karen, worst type of person. Of course, that embodies the modern Democrat Party.
Well, she embodies the city of Wauwatosa.
Yes. The other ones up there are Howard Markline, who's the senator from the 17th, who will not be outworked. Period. End of sentence. Howard.
He's a machine.
Yeah, and he won a blue seat. He wins blue seats or center left seats, and he does it because he works his ass off, not just in the off years, but in the off season. He's out delivering blue books by hand. He's doing all that sort of stuff that really helps build those connections. Jim Croft is another one. He's running in the 21st Senate District. I know from a lot of folks he's a good candidate, someone who we'd like to have on the show as well. And then Michelle Skinner, who is in the 31st State Senate District. Someone, again, she ran, didn't win a seat
in the Assembly.
Is coming back for the Senate and could do the Van Wangard thing. So it can happen. You have 4 people who SIRS, the Committee to Elect a Republican Senate, are getting behind, and check them out. We hope to have them on the show. We are working on that for you, so you get to hear as many candidates as possible and give them an opportunity to talk to you for 20-30 minutes, tell you who they are, why they're running, and why you should vote for them.
It looks like that we have a great slate. I mean, the ballot is set.
Yeah.
97. There's only 2 districts in the Senate that didn't get contested. One of which, Tim Carpenter in Milwaukee, and Diane Hesselbein, which Madison, Fitchburg area. So you can't blame them totally for that. But other than that, the ballot is set. We'll see. And you can't win an election if there's no one on the ballot. So
exactly,
we have Republicans up and down the ballot.
And with that, we want to thank everyone who's tuned into the pod, making this show as successful as it has. We have another great month lined up for you. If you like what you hear, make sure to leave us that 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We will read your comments and reviews on the pod. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post this week. I wrote a number of things, but one that we didn't get to talk about tonight is Elon Musk's SpaceX IPO and how amazing that is for innovation, technology, human progress, and life-changing wealth it created for a whole group of people, from engineers to cafeteria workers. And Shadow Gov, do you have anything else you want to plug?
No, not really. I mean, I think just looking forward to the state convention and seeing who wins that straw poll. Yeah,
we're going to be monitoring that situation closely. And of course, if you want to learn more about us or have any questions, hit us up at email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. I know I owe a couple of people emails back, so we'll be getting to those very soon. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, and Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, and on X at New Fashion Pod. Have a great Monday.